Hey my friend, this is going to be a great one because Baby Audio just released its new plugin, Smooth Operator Pro, the successor of the original Smooth Operator. Now we're talking about kind of a combination of EQ, spectral compression, resonance suppression, processed automatically with its own algorithm in the same ballpark as plugins like Sooth 2, Goldfoss, SA3. But what I've seen so far with Smooth Operator Pro is that it gives me lots of flexibility and lots of control. So this plugin is going to be good to reduce harshness and muddiness, add more clarity to a mix or an instrument, and also good to control the low end of a mix. So that's why I like to work with these types of plugins. So without further ado, let's have a look. Okay, so let's start this one up by looking at the plugin, the parameters, how we can work with it. I'm going to try it on a full mix, on a vocal in Sidechain, and I will also use a Smooth Operator Pro to enhance the width of a sound, which is quite cool. So you're gonna have to stick around for this one. Okay, so first, how it works. Very simple. We have the threshold on the top left, okay, like a compressor. And if I bring that down, I'm gonna start seeing some gain reduction on the top of the plugin. And I always keep an eye on what is happening up there, okay? This is very important. And everything is done in a automatic way, as you can tell. It's very dynamic, it's very musical at the same time. And from this point, I can adjust everything by adding some nodes. And look at that, I can add as many as I want. I think there's a limit, but maybe at around 30 if I'm not mistaken. But honestly, it's way more than I would use myself on one instance of this plugin. And to delete a node, I just need to double click and it's gonna get out of the way. So let's say I wanna focus more on my low mids. I'm just gonna bring that node down and you'll see I'm gonna get more gain reduction, and then I can readjust my threshold, okay, for the whole thing. And there you go. In this example, I want to only focus on the low mids. My threshold is going to be pretty low, and I'm just going to bring that node down to my taste. I can play around with the width also of the node. And I can just double click to add a second one. And let's fix a bit of the harshness, okay? And smooth that up a bit. And there you go. Okay, so that is the idea. Okay, so this is how you'll be able to tone shape your sound, get more control, fix some harshness, or clear up a dull or a muddy mix, and also control some low end, which I'm going to show you later. But if we continue looking at the parameters, now we are in the setup section. There's 6 sections, okay? And the one we're on right now is called setup. So we have the low preserve and high preserve. This is so useful. So let's say, on this master, I want to make sure I'm not affecting my low frequencies. I can just add some low preserve, and there you go. It's going to add up a zone to this low end section that will not be affected by the processing of this plugin. I can do the same also for high frequencies by adding a high preserve. And then I have the makeup gain if I need to. Okay, let me just put on my headphones. Now there's 2 correction mode. There's Q and even. By default, it's going to be set up to skew. The difference between the two, one does the correction more even, which is the even mode, and skew is a bit more tilt, okay? Next, we have focus detection is set up to peak. You can also have the detection set to RMS, a bit like a compressor. Detail will add a bit more resolution to the spectral peak detection, okay? So if we bring that down to 0%. Keep an eye again on the graphic analyzer on top, which is the peak reduction analyzer. And if I add a bit more detail, you can actually hear the difference and see it straight on that analyzer. So the more you want to focus on some problems and resonances, you're going to increase the detail knob, okay? Now for isolation, the more you're going to add some, it's going to focus more on the detected harmonics, and the lower isolation is, the more surrounding frequencies are going to be affected, which will result into a more musical response. Next on comp, and that is the parameters of the compressor side of this plugin, so ratio, attack, release, and the choice between soft and hardening. Now imaging is going to be where you can make this plugin to be dual mono if it's set up to left and right. Now it's 100% linked in stereo. If I bring that to 0, now left and right are going to be fully independent from each other. I can also process the left side only, or only the right side, or a blend of both. And I can turn that on to MS mode, which is also very useful. So in that case, I can bring the plugin to work on the center signal only, or on the sides, or again, a balance of both. Then I can use this plugin as a sidechain plugin. I just need to turn it on. And then we have the output section where I can use the mix knob to parallel process the signal, basically. And there's the output level. And also, if I'm just gonna bring that up a bit, and if we click on remove, this is basically the delta signal, okay? Everything that we are removing from the signal. Okay, so that is a good way to listen to what you're actually doing while working with this plugin. So this is what I have so far. So I like that it clears up the sound a bit more, but in a very, very smooth and transparent way. I like that a lot. Now, something else we can do that will bring the whole thing to the next level is that we can tweak those nodes independently from each other, and also independently from the general settings of the plugin, especially these three settings: the focus, the comp, and the imaging that we find at the bottom right of the plugin. So I need to select the node first, and then I can override the global settings for the focus, for the compression settings, and for the imaging. So let's do it on the imaging for this one. I'm gonna click on override global, and then I'm gonna bring this node to MS. And we are gonna focus on the sides only for this one. All right, so the gain reduction I'm getting on the low mids will be applied only on the sides. Now for the high mids, this time I'm going to click on that node and I'm going to do the same imaging, and let's do it the other way around, where I'm going to focus on the center of the signal, okay, to tame down a bit of harshness I have here. And also, if I want to make sure that I'm not affecting my mid-range, like the 1K surroundings, okay, I can just click and create an extra node, bring that one up, okay? So the higher I get the node up, the less it's going to affect that specific band of frequencies. Okay, focus on the stereo width of the mix, you know, now that we actually tweak that up in MS mode. Now I can hear that I'm getting a bit more width, which I like a lot. So this is the type of thing we can do with a smooth operator on a mix. Okay, now let's try it on a vocal.
Mom said there's mail from the college, gave me the look like something wasn't right.
All right, so I'm gonna bring my threshold down. I'm gonna clean the low mid section. It's a bit muddy. I'm gonna clear that up. And also, I'm gonna see how that goes. There's a bit of a boxiness also. Check.
Mom said there's mail from the college, gave me the look like something wasn't right. You called me crying and telling me, how can we be apart? I loved you from the start, still we got those sweet summer nights laying beside. Mom said there's mail from the college.
Cool, I like that.
Gave me the look like something wasn't right. You called me crying and telling me, how can we be apart? I loved you from the start, still we got those sweet summer nights laying beside you underneath the stars, talking about the future. It's those wide open fields, running till we can't breathe.
That sounds actually pretty nice clears things up a bit, by keeping everything smooth and under control. So I kind of like that. Okay, now even if I already have a de-esser on this vocal, it seems that I can add a second layer of de-essing. So I'm going to do it straight from Smooth Operator. So I'm going to create a node, bring this one very, very narrow, bring it down. Okay, and I'm going to override the global settings and bring the isolation to the max. Okay, and we'll see how that is gonna do to tame down the civilians. Okay, pay attention to the S's.
I loved you from the start, still we got those sweet summer nights.
Okay, I'm gonna bypass it.
I loved you from the start, still we got those sweet summer nights. I loved you from the start, still we got those sweet summer nights.
Cool.
Laying beside.
So there you go, it sounds great on the vocal, lots of control, and I really like that, to be able to tweak around and override the global settings for these 3 parameters. It just gives me a lot of flexibility. Okay, on electric guitars now. Okay, so I'm actually clearing up the boxiness out of this guitar sound, and at the same time, it enhances the width of that guitar bus. What I did, I added some focus on this node here, which covers the region of 500 hertz. And I added a bit more isolation, a bit more imaging also, focusing more on the center of the signal, leaving the sides alone. Okay, let me overdo it a bit so we can hear the difference. That's so cool. I like that. Okay, I also have one on my bass, but this time around what I decided to do is to sidechain it to the kick drum. Okay, so by only focusing on the low end of the signal. So in this case, what I did, I add a high preserve down to 200 hertz, so I only focus on everything below that point. I activated sidechain, so this way I was able to select my kick channel as a source. Okay, to activate the sidechain of the Smooth Operator. Now, something I also did is to bring down the release time of the compressor side, okay, just to make sure I'm getting a faster release, because my goal here is to tighten up the relationship between the kick and the bass by taming down low frequency resonances of the bass sound every time the kick comes in. In result, this is going to give me a more tight and controlled low end on the full mix. And I find it even better doing it this way than to use a regular compressor, which would affect the full range of the bass sound, which is not what I'm looking for. I just want to focus on the low frequencies. So let's have a listen again and focus on the kick drum in relation to the bass. All right, so let's listen to a guitar solo. On this guitar solo, what I did here, since the guitar solo sounded a bit too harsh, I added a Smooth Operator Pro to just tame down the high mids and just smooth up the whole sound. Okay, listen to this guitar solo.
Just call me and I'll be there.
Okay, that sounds pretty good as it is now, since I already applied Smooth Operator to tame down the harshness of the solo, because this is how it sounded before Smooth Operator. There you go. Now, I already added an EQ on this guitar solo before using a Smooth Operator Pro, but it was still a bit too harsh to my taste. So that's why I added Smooth Operator Pro, just to add an extra layer of control over the harshness of this guitar solo. And the way this plugin works, it was the perfect fit. Now, I work with these plugins on almost every mix, okay? Even if it's only on one channel. It's a great tool to reduce harshness, muddiness, add clarity, control the low end in a very transparent and efficient way. And Smooth Operator Pro works pretty well and gives me a lot of flexibility and control. And this is what I like a lot about this plugin. Now, I don't want to be fussy, okay? But if I have one thing I would add to the plugin, would be this. Now, I love the fact that we can override the global settings on nodes by overriding the focus, comp, and imaging, okay? However, it would have been so cool if we were able to do the same with the sidechain and also the mix wet knob, okay, on every nodes. That would be very nice. But honestly, for this type of automatic spectral compressor type plugin, it's one of the best out there, to be honest with you. If you look at the pricing, this goes out at $129, but the launch special price is $79 US. You can also get the plugin collection plan, which is a subscription plan at $15 a month. And this is actually pretty interesting because every 6 months, you actually choose a plugin out of the list that you can keep forever, okay? Even if you're on the subscription plan. So for example, when you sign up, you have iHeart New York completely free. And every 6 months, you can pick one of these plugins by Baby Audio or Denise Audio, and you keep it forever. Okay, and every 12 months, you have these other plugins, which Smooth Operator Pro is going to be listed in, okay? And you can also buy the complete Baby Audio plugin bundle. And if you use my coupon code Mixdown, you'll get an extra 10% off all Baby Audio plugins, including this new Smooth Operator Pro plugin. So that means that you get an extra 10% on top of the sale price of $79 US. Which is pretty cool. And if you decide to go to the plugin collection plan, you will get 10% off the first month of your plan. So check it out. The link and the coupon code are down below. And also let me know if you already work with Baby Audio plugins. And if so, let me know which plugins you like to work with. Until next time, take care and see you.